Hey guys in World Wide Web, we're here at the Oneida County Historical Society in Utica, New York, now known as the Oneida County Historic Center. We are going to be hanging with Michael Keene, who is the author of Folklore and Legends of the Rochester Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. And now his new book, which he is here promoting today, Vietnam Reflections. Michael is the producer of the award-winning documentary series Visions, as well as his recently released audiobook anthology. Michael has combined his interest in local history, writing, and filmmaking in order to explore unique and fascinating chapters of the 19th century Western New York folklore and legends. Hey guys in World Wide Web, we are here with author Michael Keene at the Oneida County Historic Center in Utica, New York. And he is here today talking about his new book, Vietnam Reflections. And he has a hardcover and an audio book. So thank you, Michael, for hanging with us. Tell us about your books.
Well, I had discovered a number of years ago that 8 boys from a very small town in upstate New York died during the Vietnam War. And as a matter of fact, it was one of the worst casualty rates for any town in the United States during the Vietnam War per capita. So this year ago, I went on a quest to see if I could locate all their surviving family members, neighbors, and friends. And I was able to eventually find 35 of them and had a total of over 60 interviews. And the result is the book, Vietnam Reflections, The Untold Story of the Holly Boys, which is not only about their service in Vietnam, but also their life growing up in a small rural town in the 1950s and the 1960s.
Wow, that's how difficult was it for you to write the book and actually finish it from doing the research? You're a veteran yourself, right?
Correct. Actually, that part was the easy part because of the interviews that I was able to conduct, and also letters that were given to me that had been written by the boys while they were in Vietnam, letters that were written to me by their surviving family members. And so between the interviews and what was written and other documentation I was able to find, that was the easy part. The difficult part was finding the 35 family members. But because with the use of social media and also the help of many of the people that I interviewed who would then find the next person for me to interview, that was the more challenging part. But that took a period of about 9 months, and I thought I was able to do that quite well.
Was it emotional for you, being a veteran yourself?
You know, that's a good question. I found that it was highly emotional to the people that I was interviewing. And because of that, I found it to be emotional myself, especially when I came to learn about this small town that they were from and realized how unique the town was. In fact, that's another character in the book, so to speak, which is the history of the town of Holly, New York, and what had happened during this period of the Vietnam War and how they experienced tragedy after tragedy over a 6-year period.
Oh my goodness. It sounds a little heart-wrenching.
Well, it was for me, and I think like for most veterans, once you get out of the service, you go on with your life. At least I was able to, and hadn't really thought about my Vietnam service until I began putting this book together, because another part of the book is the history of the Vietnam War, those key events that led us into it, and those key events that finally pointed us towards withdrawing from Vietnam.
Well, so tell us an early experience that you had when you realized that word had power.
Well, I believe it probably all came back to me just a couple of months ago when I was asked to do a book signing in Holly. So they rented out the local VFW, how apropos, and it was standing room only. People brought cakes and pies and coffee and juice and punch, and I was there for hours, and I almost got the sense that they didn't want me to go. And when I got to the bottom of it all as to why, and although it hadn't been my intention necessarily, I realized that the town had felt that their sacrifice, and it truly was the town's sacrifice, had gone unnoticed. And so the book was was a way for them to realize that their sacrifice had been noticed.
Oh, I'm going to cry. I didn't want to cry during this interview, but it's just so hard. It's just, oh my goodness, it gets you right there. Is there a subject that you would never want to write about? Or you're pretty...
Well, now what happens, in fact, how it happened that I wrote this book, and which is true in many of the others, is that literally I am usually driving down a country road somewhere, and I will see a road sign. Like, for instance, with this book, I was driving in Orleans County, which is where Holly is located. It's a very sparsely populated rural county. And as I was on my way to this destination to give a talk about another one of my books, I saw a sign that said Holly 3 miles. And I knew instantly what I was going to do. I was going to try to find the survivors of these 8 boys and then write a book about it. So now I really don't have any control over these things. I just, minding my own business, I see a sign, and next thing you know, there's a book. So who can tell what the next one will be?
Are you a plotter or a planster?
Boy, you'll have to define that for me.
So a planster is someone who just writes and doesn't give a thought about it, and you've got your book. And then a plotter is you think about it and then you write.
Right. Well, I suppose a plotter or a plodder. To me, the most important part about any book that I write is the structure of the book. What is the book going to be about, and how am I going to approach it? So I have quite an extensive outline of any book that I'm going to write. And the writing is just that part that you have to do. And to me, it's already been written in my head. And I've enjoyed the process, although I haven't actually started the writing yet. But the writing is the hard work part. But then, because of the outline, in this case, interviews, in a sense, the book pretty much wrote itself.
Oh, interesting. Do you believe in writer's block?
I don't think that I have had that issue because I'm not a novelist. I can understand when somebody writes a work of fiction and they're trying to figure out how character A is going to get over to where character B is. In my case, that's really not the issue. The book almost instantly comes to me, and now I just have to put the various components of it together. So I've never had that problem. And now, with not even having to think about what I'm going to write about, because again, I'm driving down the road and I see a sign, it's become relatively easy for me.
What is the most difficult part of your artistic process that you can think of?
I don't really look at the challenges that I have to face. I suppose inevitably, when one writes, one would like to sell what they write, their books or what have you. And so I suppose it's really not putting the book together, it's really the marketing of the book. So if you want to hold up the book cover
Of
again,
course.
and the audio book
Of
cover.
course.
That would be very helpful. And of course, what we're doing here today, because
Yes.
you have a story that you have to tell. And so it's always very encouraging when people enjoy your stories and, of course, might want to purchase them.
Absolutely. Where can we find your books?
Well, we're at the Oneida County Historical Society here, and they carry them. I have my own website. I carry them there, and there's probably 40 other bookstores, mostly in New York, although my books can be purchased via Amazon. All of them are available there. And you know what? They're always in the trunk of my car.
Oh,
So
that's always a good place,
that's another
too.
place.
Does writing energize you or exhaust you?
Well, it energizes me. I don't look at it as work. I mean, work for me was
good.
work. Before I retired, this is dessert.
Very good, because you were a financial planner,
Financial,
right?
for
20-some
25 years, right. Yep.
Wow. And what is your favorite unappreciated novel?
My favorite unappreciated novel. Boy, I was thinking the other day, actually yesterday, about the book Cold Mountain, which was written by a fellow, I wish I could remember the author's name, but he's from North Carolina. And they made a movie about a fellow who literally, from North Carolina, who's fighting in the Civil War and literally walks away from the war. And the thing that I enjoyed so much about that book was that as this soldier is escaping from the war, he's recounting what he's seeing on his way, and he's in the mountains of North Carolina, and he's observing the fauna and the flora and animal life, and you just knew that the author had been there. And, pardon me? I have to trust you on that one. But there's many books that are similar to that, novels, but yet you know that it's a part of that person's experience.
Yeah.
The Kite Runner,
Yes.
which was actually written by a Afghan, was another book that you knew that you were reading about his life.
Yeah, I like those too, where you can, even if they are fictional, you can kind of see it.
Right.
Yes. And what literary character are you most like?
Literary character. This is not the literary character, but it's certainly the literary writer. I've always enjoyed Norman Mailer's works. In fact, one of the things that I appreciated by Norman Mailer is he was one of the few writers that could speak well about his books. In fact, one of the reasons, I'm going to be giving a 45-minute to 1 hour presentation here today about my book, and that's another aspect of my writing, which is being able to take that book, synthesize it down to a 45-minute presentation, and be able to deliver it where people will enjoy it as a separate event, apart from writing. And so I've always found there's a lot of writers who were great writers, certainly better than I probably will ever be, but they couldn't talk about their books. So hopefully I'm able to blend the two, but Norman Mailer would be the fellow that.
Okay.
And I suspect he wrote about himself a little bit too.
So what's coming up next for you? Are you scheduled to do more book signings? Are you writing any more?
I have
Currently?
many book signings scheduled I have one tomorrow. I mean, I have like 2 or 3 a week from now
Oh
until
my goodness, busy.
November. So I keep as busy as I want to be. I also attend some county fairs and other events
Oh,
such as
nice.
that. And so
Very
that keeps
nice.
me, again, as busy as I want to be.
Yes. Are you writing anything else?
Not yet, but of course, wait till I get in my car and start down
I
the
know.
road.
You never know.
That's right.
An idea could spark
That's
up.
right.
Well, thank you so much for hanging with us. I am going to probably stay for your lecture
Okay.
because thank you
Okay,
so much.
thank you.
Well, guys, it has been a fantastic day hanging with Michael Keene. Don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment and let us know what you think of today's show and our guest. You can also check out the guest link below. Remember to subscribe and log in and stay tuned to see who we're hanging with next.